Welcome back, everyone. Today is all about champion points. Now, as some of you may know, we are due a new update in Q1 of this year. And alongside it, there has been a complete revamp of the champion points. We've been waiting for it for a couple of years. We've finally got it coming. It's not finished yet. It is on PTS, and there are going to be some changes. So don't panic just yet. But this is a very new system. This is all about choice. There are so many things that have been changed recently as far as combat is concerned, consolidating effects and all that kind of stuff, but this new system is to kind of take advantage of that and cater for all different types of playstyle, including those that want to be balanced, those that like more survival and recovery, and those that want to go full out glass cannon. Now, you can mix that kind of stuff if you want to, but it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to make choices. So out with the old and in with the new. There are, bear in mind, some changes coming. As this goes, there's some typo issues, there's some nodes that aren't working properly and all that good stuff. Also, on the PTS, we are currently 810. The cap is 3,600. So, on the PTS, you can check how you are currently in the game versus what is expected with the new system, and you can see the straight transfer from one to the other. Also, bear in mind, yes, of course, 810 means that you're going to be slightly less effective than you were before, perhaps, based on what you know as your character. But just bear in mind, of course, you've still got a massive amount of champion points to add to that. And one more important thing, on live, when this goes live, the champion points you already have is exactly what you will be able to use. So if you're sitting on 1,500 right now, that's how many you will get when you log in. Now, the champion points after that obviously are going to be quicker to gain than they were before, but you're going to be able to go up to 3,600 and use them all. So let's have a look at the new trees. They are a little bit daunting to start with, but don't panic. Now, first of all, they've been split up into 3 areas: craft, warfare, and fitness. And that is because they have been basically tailored to those areas. Craft is very much crafting and money and all that kind of stuff. Then you've got warfare, which is combat, and then you've got fitness, which is your ability to perhaps evade and work with CC and recovery and all that kind of stuff. So this is basically heals, damage, and survival. This is more running around in circles, dodging and weaving, and this is all nice crafty stuff. Now, if you can see at the top here, you can see that we've actually got 3 different sections. So if I got to hit the champion bar, basically, got a green section, and there's 4 nodes there. There's a blue section, there's 4 nodes there, and there's a red section, there's 4 nodes there as well. So, all of these constellations have their own bonuses and buffs and such, but there are specific ones that have a unique bonus that you can slot or take out and replace with something else. So we're going to go over all the different nodes. Of course, you can see what they are now. Again, they may change, but then you're going to see what it's like to choose what goes where and when based on the situation. Before, it was very, very flat. It was stack into loads of resistances, stack into loads of damage and crit, and done. Now you need to make choices as to which you do and don't take for the situation. You might need loads and loads of resistances, so you have to slot those resistance stuff. You might need loads of damage. Who knows? So, let's go over these basically first of all. You'll have 1 or 2 that are open. There's 3 actually. So these ones here are open straight away. And as you can see already, reduces movement speed penalty from sneak by 5% per stage. But you need to spend 8 points to unlock it. And then the next stage is another 8 points, and so on and so forth. Very straightforward, but of course, once you've unlocked the first node, it then unlocks others. And this will be consistent throughout the CP changes, as far as the trees are concerned. You unlock one to allow the connecting stars to be used. Now, these darker ones, or even brighter ones actually, not darker, color ones, shall we say, because these are green, very green. These are your nodes that you can add to your champion point bar. So, when it comes to stuff like this, we'll put some points into here. We can unlock this. Max that out. We can access it. Hit the button, and you can put it up here. You've got 4 slots. Now, the same applies to these. This one here, and here, and here, and here, and here. You've got loads and loads of different ones, but you can only slot 4 at a time. So you do need prerequisites to get to them, and then you have to decide which ones you take with you. Just saying, by the way, we all want Treasure Hunter. Now, let's go over these very, not too much in depth, very briefly if we can, but we will check out what each of them does. And also, there's a very, very important point to make, but I'm going to do that when I get to the damage side of things, because there's something very, very important here that people might not have noticed yet. So, movement speed in Sneak, great. increase the cost of which merchants buy goods from you, so you can actually make more money from merchants. Then you've got increased amount of gold you find in chests, so more gold found, more gold made. When you resurrect yourself or another player, you have 33% chance to not consume a soul gem. Handy. Resources are better for you because you don't run out of juice so quickly as far as your inventory is concerned. Although most people don't run out of soul gems anyway, but still. Reduces your full damage. People need that. Adds 10 minutes to the duration of eaten food or drink per rank or per stage. So this can be a total of 30 minutes extra on your food. This is very efficient for your consumables and resources and such. So you've got extra gold that you can make. You've got more soul gems that you can keep. You've got your life. You don't lose that quite so quickly if you jump off a cliff. And also duration of food. Really helpful. Whenever you use a potion or a poison, you have a 10% chance to not consume it. So again, your consumable resources are not being consumed. Very helpful there. Increases your movement speed out of combat. Very nice for overland. And that's per point as well. So every single point in here will actually upgrade it. So if you go up to, say, 20, you can obviously see that you're going to get a 20% bonus out of that. But you have to slot it. You don't get the bonus until you do. Now, as you can see, once we've added it, there's your 20% bonus. So if we go all the way up to, what is this, 50? 50 points. 50% increase to movement speed all the time while out of combat. How cool is that? Professional upkeep reduces the cost of repairing your items, so you can get more gold from dungeons and bosses and all that good stuff, and you can sell to the merchants. You can get more gold from chests. You can reduce the cost of repair. Gold is actually going to be quite easy to maintain. Reduce the cost of sneak. Very nice indeed. Increases your chance of catching higher quality fish by 10%. You need 25 points in there and it's done, but you do have to unlock other nodes first. So you're going to want to start, let's backtrack, about here. Either this one or, well, actually this one will be a bit more efficient. So you put some points into here, unlock this, some points into here, reduce the cost of way shrines. How cool is that? Then to here, which your end chance decay less, so slower. 20% per stage, 5 stages. 100%, excuse me, 100% per stage for all of them even. So that should be 100% bonus. How cool is that? So bring that back down again. We don't need to keep that there because we want to show you the shinies. Bring it down to about 50. And F40. Now, whoops, wrong button. Fill these up. Fill this up a little bit. You got to max this one before you can unlock the node next to it. So this way round is quite long. This way round is also quite long, because to get round here you have to have treasure hunters, so you're kind of blocked at this point. You've got to have these unlocked first. This is massive as well. 10% chance to find a second furnishing plan when you are looking for furnishing plans. If you find one, you have to unlock these big ones first. Now, even the shortest route, which we've taken here, is still going to cost you 75 points in this to get this. But if you do have it, I mean, look, 25 points, you get rare fish. Great. We've been after that for a very long time. This reduces the time it takes to harvest per stage, so much, much faster harvesting. You have a chance to gain double yield from normal resource nodes per stage. So if you max that out, you've got 100% to get double loot. Increases your movement speed while on a mount, which is nice. Reduces the time it takes to harvest. We've already been over that. Improves your mastery with mounts, removing all mount stamina costs outside of combat. So if you did have this, it doesn't cost you any stamina to sprint, which is nice. Escaping from guard wipes 25% of your current heat, but not the bounty. So if you max this out, you can actually take off your kill on sight marker, if you like, and reduce it if you escape from them, which is quite handy. It means you can walk around with a massive bounty and no one's going to kill you. This increases the chance to get higher quality loot from pickpocketing, encouraging you to do that. When you kill an enemy with a blade of woe, you become invisible for 5 seconds after a short delay while distracting nearby enemies or potential witnesses. While under this effect, you can't cast blade of woe. So literally, kill them, invisible, gone. There is a passive for that, but, I mean, this is obviously very, very effective because it's guaranteed. This increases the value of fenced items by 15%. You get more money back from selling to the Thieves Guild. They still need to remove the cap on how many items you can sell, but the fact you can make more money out of it is actually pretty good. Anyway, those are all kind of quality of life inside the world, crafting, exploring, treasure hunting, all that kind of stuff. That is what you're looking for. Again, if you want any of these bigger ones, you have to apply them. So if, for argument's sake, we have these in here right now, but we want, say, one of these, the sneak cost reduction ones, we can't actually fit it, can we? Because we don't have room. So what we have to do is choose which one of these we take out in order to slot it. So it's a matter of choice. You might be running around on the overland doing loads of gold stuff and then have very gold specific or traderish specific items on your champion point bar. But then you might get into another situation where you have to sneak around loads. So you start putting some of these on, or maybe you're just selling your loot and you want to repair after a dungeon and you want to put this on just before you go to the merchant. Quickly swap it out. All these different things that you've got choices to do. Now, we're going to go red tree because this is otherwise going to get a little bit confusing. So this is basically your, not so much survival, or there are survival elements to it, but your, it says fitness, your ability to remain in a fight. So recovery, CC, all that good stuff. And these get a little bit heavy. As you can see, these bright red ones, again, these do go up the top. So if you were to put this in here, you can start putting that in the top here. As you can see, you got 4 slots. That goes up there. This is a bit nuts, though, because this is... We'll put it to maximum. 1400 health. Just like that. Anyone can use it, no matter whether you're a DPS, healer, or tank. There's a couple like that. But that's a very specific one. If you don't have that in there, you don't get the bonus. So if you had 5 of these unlocked and maxed out, you can only slot 4. Extra armor. Extra health recovery. So, and magic recovery and stamina recovery per stage. So before, you used to have Mooncalf and Arcanist even, and you also had the one for health recovery as well, separately. Now it's 50 points, and you have a massive amount of recovery, which can be slotted in here. Now, granted, again, these don't always show up right away, but there's 150 health, magic, and stamina recovery. If you're on PTS and you can't see the stats, just confirm it, because sometimes it doesn't show up. That's flat out for all 3 resources. You didn't have all 3 before, because you'd have to spend quite a substantial amount of points to get anywhere near that per resource. So while we do have a lot more points to spend, there are some nodes that are actually a lot more helpful than before. But again, sacrificing a slot to be able to do that. So if you want the extra recovery and you want to scale off of all the different percentage bonuses, you can still do that, but not as simple. Then you've got stuff like this. Unchained, when you break free, the cost of your next stamina ability within 5 seconds is reduced by 11% per stage. There's a 55% reduction there, which is quite nice. A little bit less than it was before, but it's still helpful nonetheless. But again, you have to slot it. Then you've got, when you're affected by disabling effects, you automatically break free for free. After using this effect, so when it is applied, you become winded and cannot trigger this again for another 21 seconds. Now in PvP, 21 seconds is a very short time. So breaking free and having like a 6 or 7 immunity phase is not really a problem, because you only got 14 seconds before you can do it again. But then you've got stuff like this. Increases the duration of the time you are immune to crowd control for 3% per phase, or per stage rather. So this can go up to 50 points, but it's going to give you a 15% increase. 6 or 7 second duration on immunity is going to make that just over 8 seconds, which then affects this as well. But risk for reward, you have to figure out which ones of these you're going to put in, because you can only use 4. And as you can see, there are a lot. Now, while you are into a kind of immune phase or state, you actually get health recovery and mag recovery. You've got some nice bonuses there. Reduce the cost of break free by 110 stamina per stage. And it used to be percentages and all that kind of mess. This is very flat. You can see exactly what it is. So that's going to be 550 reduction to cost for break free. In your stats now, you have advanced stats. You're going to see exactly how much it's going to cost. While immune to crowd control, you take 2% less damage per stage, up to a 10% bonus just for being immune to crowd control. So if you're using the immovable ability, for example, now you've got loads of damage reduction, which is quite nice. Reduces the cost of dodge roll by 120 stamina per stage. See, that's universal. It doesn't have to have all these different effects for percentages and messing around with multiplicative effects and additive effects and all the rest of it. It's a flat bonus. No messing around, less calculations from the server, and obviously it's going to enhance performance in some way or another once you've got loads of people doing this all at once. Expert Evasion gives you a free dodge roll once every 30 seconds. How cool is that? Reduces the cost of sprint by 50 stamina per stage while you are immune to crowd control. So if you are in a crowd control immunity phase, you can just sprint and your cost is down. Handy. All these are really, really Nice, but how are you going to fit them all? You can't. You can't fit them all. It's choice. Reduce the cost of sprinting by 20 stamina per stage. That's any time, not just while you're immune, but of course, they can stack. This reduces the duration of status effects applied to you by 5% per stage, up to 25% strength. But pay attention to the next ones. While affected with a status effect, your core combat skills cost 5% less per stage. So this reduces the effects applied to you by status effects, the duration of them, but while they're on you, you can get up to a 25% reduction to cost. So do you really want to not be affected by status effects as often or for that long duration? Of course you do. You kind of want to be affected by them now. You want this negative effect. So what you then need to do is do a loop. You go around. Instead of going from here to here, you go around the back way and take this node from here instead. Survival instincts is actually really, really nice. But we've missed some because we've gone round. This will give you loads and loads of health. And yes, it stacks with the other one. But pay very close attention to this. This over here gives you a crap ton of extra health. 1,400. This one here gives you 280 max health per stage. And there's only 5 stages, but that's still a lot of health. If you put points into this... Have I got any points? I can't get there yet. Let's move some points into here. So you're not even taking my own advice. Now, max this out. 1.4 twice now. And they stack, but this one doesn't require a slot. This is a passive. This is a passive bonus. This is one you have to slot. They stack together. You've now got 2,800 extra health for no good reason whatsoever. How cool is that? Now, this increases your stealth detection radius by 1 meter per stage. You've got 3 stages there. Return to life after resurrection with 10% more resources per stage. So if you die a lot, then yes, this is going to be helpful. But, I mean, once you get to 3600, you're probably going to want this anyway because you're going to have a lot of excess points. Decrease the time it takes to resurrect an ally by 33%. Yes, that's technically a Templar passive, but also, yes, it stacks. So Templars can res wicked fast now. If you're a Templar with this passive, using Kagranak's Hope, you're probably going to res someone in not far short of about a second. Increases the effectiveness of your damage shields and damage against shielded enemies by 8% per stage. So you've got a 40% increase to your damage shields and a 40% increase to damage shield damage. Again, has to be slotted. We'll go down one, we missed this one. Reduce the cost of your shields. Very nice indeed, 10% reduction. While shielded... No, that says shielded, not your damage shield. Could be anyone's. Your dodge roll costs 160 less stamina per stage. That is insane. If you end up with igneous shields off of a tank, let's say for argument's sake, almost a more warrior is spamming tank shields for the group. You're shielded. Your dodge roll cost is down. How beneficial is that? Oh my god! Right, 50 health recovery for every 10 ultimate you have. This is dirty, actually. If you max out your ultimate and hold on to it, you have loads and loads of recovery. If you use your ultimate, you lose it. Tricky. Very handy, though. These two are actually very, very similar. Restore 300 magicka per stage whenever you kill an enemy. Restore stamina per stage whenever you kill an enemy. So 1.5k stam or mag back, depending on which one you pick. Or you might pick both. Maybe a hybrid. Increase your movement speed while sprinting. This reduces the cost of sprint, already been there. Then you've got reduce the cost of block per stage. That's stamina block, not magical block. Increases the amount of damage you can block by 4% per stage. This is crucial. Usually in the champion points we have stuff that basically affects alongside sturdy. So reduction to cost for blocking. This is reduction to damage from blocking. Yes, like a block passive, like you would get in Sword and Board, which stacks, like you would get in Ice Staff, which also stacks. But this means anybody, no matter what armor type they're wearing, has a block mitigation bonus. That's very important. You might see some medium tanks, like actual medium tanks, not just fake ones that try to taunt stuff and then die. Reduce the cost of bash per stage as well. 2 more here. Increase your movement speed while bracing. So obviously when you're blocking, you move faster. Again, this is a Sword and Board passive, but it stacks. If you are not say, a sword and board tank or whatever. Maybe you're an ice tank, or maybe you're just someone that is blocking a lot. You move faster. Very handy passive bonuses to have. And while immune to crowd control, increase the amount of damage you can block. Block mitigation while immune to CC, alongside block mitigation here, which, yes, do stack with tank passives, but again, anyone can get these. So standard DPS and healer type people can actually mitigate more damage if they are in trouble. Really, really handy stuff. I don't doubt a lot of this is probably going to change, not necessarily stat-wise, or maybe it is, but also, of course, maybe a couple more of these they'll open up, who knows. But so far, this is just nuts. This is your overall combat awareness, your speed, your recovery, your CC, your dodge rolls, your ability to mitigate damage in terms of blocks. This is your base mechanic stuff. If you don't dodge roll and don't block, you're not going to benefit from this tree at all. But if you do, really handy. And finally, warfare. This is your combat stuff. So that was all your survival in combat, or effectiveness in maneuvering in certain situations. This is your healing, your damage, and your flat resistances to damage. So before, what you would do is you would put in loads of points into the red tree to have loads of resistances. You put in loads of points into the green tree to have loads of recovery. You put in loads of points into the blue tree to have loads of damage. It was very, very linear. And it got to the point where after 8-10 CPs, you could borderline put the same setup on pretty much everything. There was no real massive change to most setups. You could optimize, sure, but it wasn't make or break for most. But now that you've got your dodge roll, recovery, and all that good stuff in this tree, this is all crafted anyway, and this is all your survival and damage at the same time. This is your active combat kind of tree. Changes the game entirely. So, we're going to go over them from the healer side to the resistance side to the damage side in order, but same applies as before. These little nodes here, these blue ones, bright blue ones, they go in the top bar. So, you can only spot 4 of these at a time, which is a big, big game changer again. Because as you can see here, you've got resistance ones, you've got damage ones, and you've got healing ones. And there are so many of them, you'll never be able to decide which is necessarily best for every situation, because there's only 4 to use. Now this here, after you drink a potion, the cost of magicka and stamina healing abilities used within 6 seconds are reduced by 75%. Wow. Grants 33 weapon and spell damage to your healing abilities per stage. No, that says healing abilities and weapon and spell damage. Weapon damage is pushing your abilities if you have physical weapons. Spell damage is pushing your ability strength if you have a magical weapon. But they both affect the abilities. Before, it was a case of weapon pushes stamina based, magic pushes, spell pushes magicka based. That's not always the case anymore. Healing a target under 25% health removes all harmful effects from them. This can happen once every 24 seconds. That is dirty. That is a passive cleanse. Very nice. Increases your healing done with heal over time effects by 2% per stage. Increases your healing done in area of effect heals by 2% per stage as well. Now this one is flat, as is this. They don't need to be slotted. So you could completely max this out, and if they're both healing over time and area of effect at the same time, they both stack together. Then increases healing done with single target heals. That's very specific. So you're talking stuff like the vines from the Warden, for example. I'm trying to think what the hell it was called then. Blessed increases the healing done full stop. So you can use this, and this, and this, and so far we haven't slotted anything, but then you want to spec into one of these special jobbies over here. Grants 260 max magicka per stage. That's simple. No slotting required. Boom. Have some max magic. Then we've got some shinier ones. Reduces the damage taken by single target attacks by 2% per stage. That used to be basically what we know as Ironclad. Direct damage. Although this is single target, not necessarily all direct. When you block an attack from an enemy within 7 meters, you deal 4800 physical damage back at the attacker. It's pretty much been there for a while. Repulse has been there since the beginning, basically. When you take damage below 20% health, you gain major heroism. Again, Last Stand was there before. Reinforced, when you begin bracing, you gain a damage shield that absorbs 5140 damage for 3 seconds. This can happen once every 10. That used to require you to have 120 points in the red tree. Now it's all in the blue tree. The red tree's got nothing to do with this. So these here, I mean, 4 very important bonuses. If you slot all those, you can't slot these. So it's choice. Again here, reduce the damage taken by damage over time effects. That used to be thick-skinned. That was in the red trees only. So you'd have your blue damage bonuses, you'd have your red resistance bonuses. It's all in here. While you have a shield or frost staff equipped, you get spell resistance and increase physical resistance by 1900, but it's a slottable. If you don't slot it, you don't get it. You deal 200 magic damage to attackers whenever they damage you with direct damage. This can happen with any damage attack, basically within 7 meters if it's direct. That's kind of reflecting back at the target. It's pretty handy, but again, it's going to take up a whole slot. This will take up a slot as well. These are nuts. Which way do you go, or do you have them all? You can't have them all. Rip. Max stamina increased. 1.3k. But you've got to slot it. Otherwise, you can't have it. This here increases your weapon and spell damage by 3 per point. But you have to slot it. 150 weapon and spell damage. This again, max magic. You can have multiples, but you can only stack 4 at a time. So if you want to put all these on, but you really need thick-skinned, or whatever it's called now, Endure and Resolve, you can't. You have to have 3 and that, or dump something. Reduce the damage from area of effect. Very interesting. See, what happened here is this one used to be... So, what was it called? Ironclad. Used to be direct attacks. Direct attacks could be area of effect. They could be single target. Now they split it up. This is single target damage. This is area of effect damage. They're not direct full stop anymore. It's now a case of AoE, which could be direct or dots, and single target, which could be direct or dots. They're split up. 100 points to max them out, but you can't use them both if you don't have enough room. Increases your max stamina. Of course, we're not going to show that off. We don't need to show you that. It's 1300. Increases your crit rating. So you can crank this up. That doesn't cost a slot, which is handy. Neither does this. But you'll notice that this here doesn't cost a slot. But this does. You can stack 2 stam bonuses at once, or you can just have one of them and save the slot. But you sacrifice the gain, if you know what I mean. So you've got a crit rating here, which is built into your champion points. Before it was a passive, now it's an active. You actually have to put points into it rather than just getting it for free. But you can do that. And you've got crit damage and crit healing, which we had before, but now it's a flat bonus. Instead of messing around with loads of percentages, you do have percentages increases, but it's not 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, none of that crap anymore. All the decimal points are gone. This here, when you deal direct damage, you heal for 7% of the damage done. That's nuts. You hit someone with a crystal frag, you get a heal from dark magic skill line anyway, plus you get the extra heal. If you're an orc, I mean, you've just hit them with direct damage again. They changed that from weapon damage to any damage, so big heals, big heals. Grants weapon and spell damage to your damage and abilities per stage, so anything that does damage. There's a very specific bonus. It's to your damage skills, not to your healing skills. Spell damage and weapon damage does contribute to both, but this is a very unique node that you can spec into. Whenever you kill an enemy under the effect of status effect, they violently explode for 2k oblivion damage per stage to all other enemies within a 4 meter radius. That can go up to 4k. Oblivion damage is just raw. Fuck resistances and damage shields. All that stuff is going to go straight through. Now, this is quite important. Not just for PvP, obviously, but for PvE as well. If you've ever played Nature's Bounty, my build on my channel, the Warden tank that blows up rooms, it blows enemies up to make them dead, and with this, when they die, they blow up again. I can see that getting altered. But really nice for AoE builds, especially if you kill loads of stuff at once. Increase crit damage per phase, or per stage rather, when flanking an enemy. Now previously, flanking an enemy was only beneficial to 2 different types of situations. 1, if you were a Nightblade. 2, if you used the flanking set. Now anyone can benefit, whether you're Stam, Mag, Tank, Healer, whatever. It doesn't make a difference. This we're going to go into in a moment. That's very, very specific. This here increases your damage done with single target skills. This increases your damage over time. And this increases your area of effect. Area of effect was never something you could spec into in the champion points. it was always, it's probably damage over time in AoE, it's probably direct in AoE, so we'll just direct and damage over time. You just do the two things. Now you've got a separate area for it, where it specifically pushes area of effect. Just like the lightning staff does, but it stacks. You can get 10% bonus there. That's insane. And then obviously the more stuff you kill, boom, they all blow up. But more specifically, in here, penetration, offensive penetration for both types, spell and physical. So you can cap this out at 1.7, and then you can move on to other stuff as well. So once you've got this full, well, you don't have to get it full, you can just get it to 10 actually, 10 points. Once you've done that, you can open up the rest of them. So from here, this increases your chance to apply status effects per rank. This will increase your weapon and spell damage for magicka abilities. Weapon and spell damage. Yes, swords now actually do boost weapon and spell damage of the effects that you cast. So the weapon you're holding, the higher you can get that rating, the more it will affect the skill you're using. Not just physical is for physical, magic is for magic. Not that anymore. But you do want to push the weapon you're using, and this does just that. And in reverse, on the other side, physical status effects. And again here, weapon and spell damage towards your physical attacks. Doesn't matter what weapon type you're wearing, it boosts those types of attacks. So you are going to see some really out there hybrid builds coming very, very soon, if most of this comes through. Still some tweaking though. And finally, just to make things even more confusing, after you spec all your points into all this damage, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. What do you do here? Oops, I forgot about my resistances. Increases your healing taken. Once you've got that unlocked, crit resist, obviously for PvP, and reduce the damage taken from critical strikes by 2%. So this actually tells you what the crit resistance does now. So if you max this, you can see that 660 is actually quite a large amount of reduction to crit damage. But, of course, you can work out your own crit values for protection in PvP yourself. We'll go over that another time. But you can see that this is a node that, again, you have to slot. If you don't slot it, you don't get it. So you can save your points and put them in here. Say you got 3,600. If you've got the spare points to put them in here, that's great, but you only use it in certain situations. Turn it off in PvE, take it back again on PvP, whatever. Reduces the damage you take from magical attacks. This is Elemental Defender, basically now called Elemental Aegis or Aegis, however you want to pronounce it. This now gives you a 5% reduction to all magic damage that you take. Used to be 15 if you capped it out, but now it's 50 points and you're done. You used to have to spend 100 to get 15%. Don't need 100, you can put 100 by splitting it down the middle and going either side. This again, physical 5% reduction overall, 1 per stage. This here, however, reduces the damage taken from non-player attacks by 3% per stage. 15% reduction to all damage in PvE. So while these flat out may be very specific and have gone down a little bit, this is quite nuts. So you've got an area here of reduction. You've got an area here of reduction. You've got some more here when it comes to reducing AoE and single target and damage over time and all that. If you spec heavily into your resistances, you can get a lot of resistances for yourself. You can also spec into the red tree for block cost reduction, block damage mitigation, and all that good stuff. You can actually be very, very tanky. But, again, the heart of it is going to be choice, because you can only slot so many big bonuses at once, and you're going to lose something if you do. If you put in all damage, you're going to lose your mitigation. If you put in all mitigation, you're going to lose your damage. It's about balance. Now, as far as the champion points are concerned right now, in testing so far, raw 8-10 champion points DPS builds, on average, if you were hitting between 80 and 100k in the past, you're probably looking at about 50k, 60k at the moment. But bear in mind, that is no longer the cap. So if you consider that that's a quarter of what you could get in total, that does mean that there is potential for a lot more. If you double or even triple your champion points, you probably break even about where we were before. But then if you add the extra, you might be in a much better place. So the potential for us being buffed is there, but we are going to have to level up a bit. In the meantime, the amount of choices that there are is absolutely ridiculous. But there is one more thing I want to go over before we go. And that is not that the champion points are necessarily easier to understand because there's a lot more stuff is very, very new. But I think for most players, they are going to be a lot more digestible because of the way they're laid out. And what I mean by that is, before it was 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, and the percentages never actually counted. And there was jump points, and then there was diminished returns, and there's the key word there, diminished returns. 2 words, actually. There is no diminished returns. If you don't know what diminished returns is, basically you put 5 points into something, gives you 1%, 10 points gives you 2%, 15 points gives you 3%, going and going and going. We're spending more points the further we go to get the same bonus just for the sake of stacking them. The more we want, the more aggressive it's going to cost per jump. Jump points aren't there. Percentages like that don't work that way anymore. Here is a brief example of that. And it's the same on every single node that you see. You will see this. Let's pick this, for example. We'll take some points out of here. We'll nuke all these. In fact, let's just do a complete reset. Clear all the points. Watch. This is 260 stamina per stage. So stage number 1, 10 points. Usually diminished returns would mean stage number 2 would be 15 or 20 points. 10 points. Stage number 3, 10 points. Number 4, 10 points. Not stage number 5, 50 points. No, same all the way through. Same for this as well. Anything you like. This here, every single stage. This will, we need to find something we can put points into. This will give you 1 point of bonus every single stage. So every single stage that you have, we need to put that in the top there, otherwise we can't get it. Another point. Another point. There's no messing around. There's none of this jump point crap. There's none of this point percentages and all the rest of it. There's no decimals. Nothing. This one here, 1 point to unlock it. Every single 1 point you spend will give you the exact bonus that it says it's going to give you. No confusion. If it says 1 point to get your bonus, you need 1 point. If it says 10 points to get your bonus, it gives you 10 points. You need 10 points. If it takes 15, it takes 15, but there's no jumping. There's no increasing. It's very, very flat. And this, in my opinion, will help a lot more players make sense of their choices in their champion points. So, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully that helped. I know it might be a little bit confusing on the surface. I know some people are screaming about what they don't know, but don't panic. This is all in testing. It could change a lot more before it goes live. But if it does, don't worry. And even if it doesn't, don't worry. I've got it covered. Every single build will be updated for the new champion point system. Once again, of course, thank you very much for watching. I hugely appreciate the support. If you are not subscribed on YouTube, please do hit that button. It is free. Furthermore, if you want to help support outside of YouTube, there are some links in the info section for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, and of course the website xynodegaming.com. Patreon, by the way, for those of you that don't know, is a secret ninjas perk on there where I post stuff that I don't normally post in public about the ongoings on PTS and all of my findings so far. So if you want to see all that sneaky stuff, keep your eyes out for that and have a little butchers inside the Discord chat. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.